Alright, what's going on? I am literally filming this video to give myself something to edit tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow for my trip to Australia and New Zealand. I have my things packed and ready to go. My flight got moved forward 3 hours, so it's actually 3 hours earlier now. So instead of having like an hour and a half layover in Houston, I now have like a 4.5 hour layover in Houston. That being the case, I want to give myself something to edit, so I'm filming this now. This is the first time in a long time I actually picked all the records that you're going to see in this video. My friend Annika, who usually picks all the records for these videos, is in a different time zone and is not available for contact at the moment. So I just picked some records that she hasn't chosen yet that I've kind of wanted to talk about. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some records, and I'm not going to show any 7 inches because I don't have any 7 inches to show. But it's okay, it'll just give me a little bit more time to talk about the records. In the background, which you can probably not hear because it is pretty quiet, but this is what we're listening to. Holy shit, I hope the glare's not going to be this much of a problem the whole time. This is Sanguine Relic, Vampiric Will. If the glare is this bad the whole time, I will fix it. Really fucking cool, man. I just got this today. Yeah, great stuff. This is so much better than all of the other like hyped up fucking garage sounding black metal bands, because this band's got the riffs. Alright, so I got 5 records here. We're gonna go through, we're gonna talk about them. It's gonna be a good time, so let's do it. First up here, this is a repress of an album that came out last year from a band that kind of made some waves, and I'm really glad that this got repressed. And I'm even more glad that I was actually able to get a copy, because the first time that this was released, I missed it. I didn't even see it up for sale anywhere. But they repressed it, and I was lucky enough to grab one. And that's this. This is Vril with the Shadow Soul and the Black Sun. I just spent about a minute fucking with my angle, because I'm trying to get this to not glare, but I think it's just this because this is in sort of a plastic sleeve. So hopefully the other records won't have this problem. But Vril, Australian black metal. It kind of sounds like Drowning the Light, if Drowning the Light had a more NS sound to the music. And I'm not the one who described it that way. Somebody else did. I don't remember who. But that's like a perfect way to describe this. There's a few instrumentals on this thing. The vocals are super wretched. And I like the sort of Nazi alien theme that seems to be going on with like the artwork on this thing. Yeah, real weird. Anyway, this is the second press, which you can tell because it's just a black jacket and a picture disc, which the first press actually had a proper jacket. And it came with a couple inserts or something. That one was limited to like 100 copies, and I don't know, this one was never disclosed what the limitation was. This one looks really cool, it sounds pretty good. No complaints, man, this thing is awesome. And besides the record itself, you do get an insert. And this is what I was talking about. I think it's just a sort of really strange contrast between sort of themes here. But I like this right here. It says, from eternity to eternity, from the void into the void. The power of matter, energy, and spirit at the turning point of death, where the will of consciousness ascends and descends, the eternal 9. And there's the other side of this insert right here. You should have all the track listing. There's 8 tracks on this thing. Recorded in 2016, this is obviously released as a full-length album last year in 2017. And in terms of 2017 releases, this one is fucking great. I didn't buy it last year because, like I said, I missed the LP version. I heard there was a second press. I waited on the CD version, and then the second press didn't happen until this year. But, you know, this would absolutely have been pretty high on that list. This is great stuff, man. I absolutely love this project. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next, because as of right now, this is the one and only release. So, we'll see what happens, but as for now, that's Vril with the Shadow Soul and the Black Sun. Alright, moving on to another 2017 release, and this one was arguably my favorite release of last year. And that, of course, is this, Black Magick SS with Kaleidoscope Dreams. So this is really, for me, what cemented Black Magick SS as being possibly one of my favorite current projects. Not only are they super consistent, releasing things pretty frequently, but everything they're doing is so fucking good, and it's just getting better. When this came out, this was easily better than everything that had come before it. And of course, Spectral Ecstasy that came out this year, I think blows this out of the water. So this is the 5th EP from Black Magick SS. For some reason, this band is continuing to dodge a full-length album. I'm not sure why. These are a little bit short to be considered full-length albums. Spectral Ecstasy and this are both right under half an hour, I think. But this thing is so fucking good, man. This is sort of the start of like a new era for this band, because everything that had come out before this was a lot rawer and a lot more staticky. The vocals were more buried, while like the organ sound was a lot higher in the mix. This is sort of where they take it and sort of flip-flop the dynamics, and I think it works so perfectly. The song on here, Kaleidoscope Dreams, is my personal favorite. I would say this, besides that, the very last song on here, Eclipse, would be my second favorite. But everything on here is just great. And like Black Magick SS likes to do when they release something on a new format, they use a different cover, which is kind of cool. Obviously, the original cover looked like that right there. But I actually quite like this cover. I think it's pretty cool. I just wish they would include like an insert or something, maybe with the original cover. I don't know. But either way, really fucking cool. There's the back right there. Obviously, the sort of kaleidoscope pattern, which is very cool. I didn't notice this until I was looking at these records for this video. This is actually numbered. And according to this, I have number 3 in backwards F out of 500. And all copies were just on black vinyl with sort of more kaleidoscope pattern labels. So if you asked me last year, I would say that this is pretty much unbeatable for this style of music. But I have already been proven wrong there. Spectral Ecstasy should get an LP release this year. I refuse to miss that, and if I do, I will pay whatever somebody wants for it. I love this project, man, and if you haven't listened to anything yet, or if you haven't liked the earlier stuff, start with this, or start with Spectral Ecstasy. If you listen to this and you don't like this, I don't know how to help you. You and I have nothing in common. This shit is fucking bulletproof. Black Magick SS, Kaleidoscope Dreams. Let's shift gears pretty much as dramatically as we possibly can. And I'm not going to show this too close up because the last thing I want is to have this video flagged. This is Torsofuck with Erotic Diarrhea Fantasy. So this is the third record that I'm showing in this video, and this is also the third record that has an alternate cover to the CD release. This is, obviously, if you guys aren't familiar, probably one of Finland's most profound, brutal death metal acts ever. And maybe it's my lack of knowledge when it comes to brutal death metal, but I don't know many brutal death metal bands from Finland. But I've known about Torsofuck for about 10 years, and they only ever put out 3 releases, this being the only full-length album that came out in 2004, and this was actually the last release that Torsofuck ever did before splitting up one of the many times they've split up. The only other things they released was a demo in like 99, called like High Level Cannibalistic Violence, and then they did a split with Lymphatic Phlegm, but I don't remember what year that came out. But this is the only full-length album, and this is the best material in my opinion. Basically stuff like this for me is super, just a fun listen. It's nasty, the vocals are just completely fucking inhuman. The song Raped by Elephants, I think even people who aren't fans of brutal death metal have heard that song. I love this thing, man. This thing is one of the most fun brutal death metal albums ever. So the album cover I don't want to show you too closely. The original cover was like an Asian girl sitting in like puddles of shit. Obviously this album cover is 2 naked girls that are covered in shit and they're kissing. I'll show you the back cover right there. It's just the band members right here. This is the first time this has been put on vinyl. 500 copies, 400 copies on black, 100 on brown. And this record actually includes the High Level Cannibalistic Violence demo, which is quite cool. So maybe it makes me a bit of a fucked up person, but I kind of wish there was more disgusting shit porn on the inner sheet, but there's not. Instead, we get a lyric sheet, which is completely useless for everything except many hearty belly laughs. Because some of the lyrics on this thing are absolutely fucking ridiculous. I wish I would have looked beforehand and pulled out some, like some excerpts, because this shit is ridiculous. Actually, here you go. There's a song called Four-Legged Whore on here. I'll just read you the first little bit here.
A few days ago, I bought a cat. It is so cute. I want to fuck it hard. Walking on 4 legs, shaking that little ass. Dirty fucking slut who deserves to suffer. I place my cock in center of its asshole. Hard push, damn it's a tight, but feels so good.
This is actually, I'm not misspeaking, this is how it's written.
I fuck like a rabbit, cat scream in agony. Faster and faster, cat is unconscious. I cut off its tail and shove it up my ass.
So, obviously, poetic genius is here. There's the other side right there. Just got some information and some additional artwork. And I like the labels. It's somebody with like a blindfold on and their mouth is open and like the spindle hole is where their mouth is. It's quite cool. So when I say I pretty much limit my death metal to nasty death metal, it doesn't get nastier than this shit, man. One of the best brutal death metal albums, in my opinion. Yeah, Torsofuck, Erotic, Diarrhea, Fantasy. Alright, speaking of fun albums, this is another fun album, and this one's not metal at all. This is the Murder Junkies with Killing for Christ's Sake. Last Wednesday, I think it was, I actually finally got to see the Murder Junkies live, and it was really fucking cool. I mean, you guys know that I'm a massive G.G. Allin fan, and obviously the Murder Junkies was G.G. Allin's backing band when he died. And once G.G. Allin died, they did a couple things, and then they broke up for a few years before getting back together. But they were together for a long time before they released their first full-length album, which I believe came out in 2011. This right here, this is my favorite of the 3 full-length albums from 2014. I have put off getting Murder Junkie records for years, and the reason is because they're always super fucking accessible. And I think a lot of you guys probably know what that's like. You know, there's these records that you like, you kind of want them, but you look on Discogs and they're always like $10, and there's always multiple copies on there, so you know they're not going anywhere. You know it's always going to be cheap, and that for me, I just never picked them up. But when I saw them live, they had this for sale, and I wasn't going to leave it there, because like I said, this is easily my favorite. But once I bought this, man, I've listened to this thing. Let's see, I've had this for like a week and a half. I've probably listened to this thing at least a dozen times. It's kind of one of those records, you'll put it on side A, side B, then you'll just flip it back to side A and rinse and repeat. This thing is fucking awesome. And even cooler, man, I actually managed to meet and get to talk with Merle Allen, and I got him to sign the jacket. Despite what it might seem like, he's actually not that weird. Dino, on the other hand, he's fucking weird. But you got a super weird album cover. All their album covers are kind of just cheesy and fucking weird. There's the back right there. Obviously, I got G.G. Allin's tombstone there. And all copies were on black vinyl. I don't know what the limitations were. I really like the labels. Now, right before I started filming this video, I actually took this off my turntable because it's what I was listening to. And I dropped it, and I don't know if you can see that, that gargantuan fucking scratch. I don't know if you can see it, but you should be able to because it's fucking huge. Now, luckily for me, I put the needle on, I let it play over that spot, and it made no difference. There's no pops, it doesn't skip. I don't know how, because I mean, you can see that shit from a fucking country mile away. Actually, it's scratched on my favorite song on this whole fucking album, and that would be the song My Good Whore. Side A on this thing, every song on side A is some of the most fun, like, punk rock music I've ever heard. And if you don't like punk rock, you don't have to like punk rock to like this shit. It's super energetic, and the vocalist, who goes by PP, he actually kind of sounds like G.G. Allin does on the Brutality and Bloodshed for All LP, which is actually my favorite G.G. Allin record, and the last thing that he did with the Murder Junkies. But the songs on side A, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th song, are fucking bulletproof. Fuck Standing Up, My Good Whore, which is my favorite, and Your Blood, which I think on any other day could probably also be my favorite. It's just unbelievably fucking catchy, and I think anybody who's just a fan of music, you should listen to this because it's a lot of fun. And I already just have a fucking deep connection with this album. And the fact that it's signed just makes it cooler. So, yeah, I love this thing to death, and you guys will too. That's the Murder Junkies with Killing for Christ's Sake. Alright, finishing off here, we're going to change gears once again. Back to black metal. This is Absurd with Totenlieder. I've never talked about an Absurd record on this channel before. I have a couple of them, but this is the first one I've ever shown. I know I've listened to a couple CDs in videos in the past, but I've never shown a full-length album, so I've never got into detail. I think those of you who know Absurd already know the details, and those of you who don't know anything about Absurd, you probably don't know anything about Absurd because you don't want to. So obviously formed in Germany in 1992. They haven't put out a huge abundance of full-length albums, but their discography is quite big. So these guys are kind of like the godfathers of the NS black metal thing. But they haven't always been that way. Like, if you listen to the earliest Absurd releases, they're kind of like sort of punkish, kind of like the RAC style, with like black metal leanings. Then they did a couple full-length albums before this one that, you know, were kind of more in that style, just sort of edging closer and closer to being black metal. When this came out, which is the third full-length album from 2003, I think it is, this is like the most black metal that Absurd had sounded so far. From what I can tell, and I don't speak German, but I have seen some translations, the only like openly Nazi shit sort of occurred within like a time frame earlier in the band's career, because none of this stuff seems like overtly like Nazi related. And honestly, even if it is, I don't know why you'd fucking care. But yeah, man, this band has just been surrounded by controversy since it started. Obviously, we all know that, I mean, the guys in this band literally committed like premeditated murder on like a 15-year-old. So it's a pretty crazy story. I'm sure you guys all know it, but this musically, this is fantastic. And what I love so much about Absurd is that every Absurd release, the best way I can put it is unapologetically, not mistakably fucking absurd. Some of the most distinct vocals in black metal, or just metal in general, man. If you hear the guy who does vocals on this, I think he goes by Wolf, you can tell that's fucking Absurd. And I like that. And obviously, besides that, you have a lot of like slower songs, and it's more sort of like groovy, or it's like sort of the music is kind of quieter and the vocals are real loud and it's just real slow. And Absurd seems to do a lot of that shit, and I fucking love it. This is actually the newest Darker Than Black reissue of an Absurd album, again with alternate artwork. I actually don't like the artwork on this very much, real ugly. There's the back right there, Darker Than Black. This is actually really nice packaging. There's the gatefold right there. It is just on black vinyl, but the labels are quite cool. And this comes with a big booklet, which has all the lyrics. Unfortunately, the lyrics are in German, so that renders them useless to me. So, like I said, you guys can't like this style of black metal without at least knowing who Absurd is. Everybody else, I know you probably know who Absurd is, and that's all you need to know. Which, again, stupid. Whatever, man, more Absurd for me. So, if you know this shit, you love it. That's Absurd with Totenlieder. So that's it, guys. I got some more shit to do, so I'm gonna hop off here. I'm gonna edit this, and this will actually be a video that I put up while I'm in Australia. So yeah, hopefully you guys dig it, and hopefully it comes out okay, because this is kind of fucking long. Nonetheless, stick around, we'll be back soon, and till then, later.